10 twisted partnerships whose shared darkness led to unspeakable crimes. From suburban homes to secluded lodges, these duos fed off each other's evil, culminating in some of the most bizarre murders ever recorded. Brace yourself, because the worst is saved for last. Carl Shaw and Russell Causley formed one of Australia's most methodical and disturbing serial killer duos. Shaw acted as the scout, identifying and surveilling potential victims, while Causley carried out the executions with clinical precision. Their partnership led to the confirmed murders of at least 5 victims, though investigators suspect there may have been more. The duo became known for their use of geographic profiling, dumping bodies in precise, calculated locations, often marked by cryptic notes or symbols. These eerie signatures baffled police and hinted at an underlying psychological motive far deeper than just murder. Their case was eventually cracked through a combination of forensic geography and behavioral analysis, leading to both men's arrest and conviction. Today, their crimes are studied in criminology and criminal geography courses as a case study in predator logistics and psychological manipulation, highlighting how partnership can amplify brutality in terrifying ways. Number 9. Leopold and Loeb. Nathan Leopold and Richard Loeb were 2 wealthy, intellectually gifted teenagers from Chicago who shocked the nation in 1924 when they kidnapped and murdered 14-year-old Bobby Franks, simply for the thrill of it. Obsessed with the idea of committing the perfect crime, the 2 boys meticulously planned every detail, using fake identities and rented vehicles to cover their tracks. They even sent a series of taunting letters to the newspapers and Bobby's family, believing their superior intellect would protect them from capture. But a pair of glasses left near the body led police right to them. Their arrest and the subsequent trial, dubbed the Trial of the Century, gripped America. Legendary attorney Clarence Darrow argued against the death penalty, securing life sentences for both. Though Loeb was murdered in prison in 1936, Leopold was eventually paroled in 1958. Their case remains a chilling reminder of how privilege, arrogance, and ideology can twist into monstrous ambition. Number 8. Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck. Between 1947 and 1949, Raymond Fernandez and Martha Beck forged a romantic and deadly alliance that would result in a string of murders across the United States. Meeting through personal ads, the couple preyed on lonely, vulnerable women, luring them into false relationships. Fernandez used charm to win their trust, while Beck posed as his sister to reduce suspicion. Once the victims were isolated, the pair would rob, exploit, and often murder them. Sometimes through drowning or poisoning. They left several victims buried in shallow graves across multiple states. Driven by jealousy and dependency, Martha became just as complicit as Fernandez, with the duo feeding off each other's desperation and cruelty. Captured in 1949, both were convicted and executed by electric chair in 1951. Their gruesome tale became infamous, inspiring books, films, and decades of media fascination with how romantic obsession can descend into a murderous pact. Number 7. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. Ian Brady and Myra Hindley are forever etched into British history as the faces of pure evil. Between 1963 and 1965, the pair abducted, tortured, and murdered 5 children in and around Manchester, England. They lured their victims with charm and deceit before taking them to remote moorlands, where Brady often recorded or photographed the brutal acts. One of the most haunting aspects of the case was the placement of floral posies at burial sites and their morbid habit of taking drive-in photos near the graves. The couple's chilling trophy collection included audio tapes and images used as grim souvenirs. Their eventual arrest came after a tip-off by Hindley's brother-in-law. The evidence uncovered was so disturbing that the case caused national outrage. Both received life sentences, with Brady dying in 2017 and Hindley in 2002. The Moores murders remain Britain's most reviled child-killing case and a symbol of manipulated loyalty turned deadly. Number 6. Paul Bernardo and Carla Homolka, infamously known as the Ken and Barbie killers, terrorized Ontario, Canada in the early 1990s with a chilling spree of rapes and murders. Their victims, primarily teenage girls, included Homolka's own sister, Tammy. The duo's sadistic acts were disturbingly documented on snuff-style videotapes, which later became crucial evidence. The public was outraged when Homolka received a lenient plea deal, testifying against Bernardo in exchange for a reduced sentence, sparking a national debate about justice and victim rights. Bernardo received a life sentence, while Homolka was released after only 12 years, her freedom a constant source of controversy. Their case remains a dark stain on Canadian criminal history. Number 5. Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole. Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole became notorious in the late 1970s and early 1980s for their supposed collaboration in a vast number of murders across the United States. Lucas, in particular, shocked the nation by confessing to over 100 homicides, a claim that fueled a media frenzy and captivated the public. However, the kill count later unraveled as many of his confessions were recanted or proven false, highlighting the phenomenon of false confessions and deficiencies in police interrogation techniques. Both men eventually died in prison, but their case had a lasting impact, leading to significant reforms in how law enforcement conducts investigations and interviews with suspects, emphasizing the critical need for corroborating evidence beyond confessions. Number 4. Fred and Rosemary West orchestrated a reign of terror from their house of horrors at 25 Cromwell Street in Gloucester, UK. Over 2 decades, they tortured, sexually abused, and murdered at least a dozen young women and girls, including their own daughter, Heather. Their signature horrific act involved burying many of their victims within the garden and property of their home, a macabre detail that shocked the world. The couple's sadistic sexual rituals and the sheer scale of their depravity were almost unfathomable. The discovery of the bodies in 1994 sent shockwaves across Britain. Fred West committed suicide in prison before facing trial, while Rosemary West was sentenced to life imprisonment, where she remained until her death in 2017. Number 3. Robert Hansen and William Holmes. Robert Hansen and William Holmes were involved in a disturbing network that abducted and trafficked teenage girls across state lines in the 1980s, primarily in the United States. Their modus operandi often involved using a friendship trap, leveraging mutual contacts to lure their victims. They utilized custom vans for transport, making their illicit operations more efficient and clandestine. Hansen, a seemingly respectable baker, secretly harbored a dark obsession. The case unraveled when one of their victims managed to escape, leading to the exposure of their horrifying activities. Holmes testified for the state against Hansen, receiving a lesser sentence. Hansen was ultimately sentenced to an extraordinary 461 years in prison, ensuring he would never again pose a threat to society. Number 2. Michel Fourniret and Monique Olivier. Michel Fourniret, known as the Ogre of the Ardennes, and his wife Monique Olivier terrorized France and Belgium for nearly 2 decades, abducting and murdering at least 11 children and young women. Their chilling partnership saw Olivier play an active role, often luring victims with promises or feigned helplessness, making them vulnerable to Fourniret's horrific crimes. Once secured, Fourniret would execute the brutal killings. Their reign of terror ended with their arrests, and both were handed life sentences. The case was particularly disturbing due to Olivier's complicity and her later revelations from prison, which led to the discovery of additional crimes and the painful closure for more grieving families, cementing their place as one of Europe's most infamous criminal duos. Number 1. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake. Charles Ng and Leonard Lake were a horrifying duo who committed a series of abductions, tortures, and murders in Northern California during the mid-1980s. Their chilling activities, meticulously documented on videotapes, revealed a custom-built torture room rigged with cameras and booby traps at Lake's remote cabin. They targeted at least 11 victims, subjecting them to unspeakable horrors before their deaths. The discovery of their compound, prompted by Lake's shoplifting arrest and subsequent suicide in custody, uncovered a macabre trove of evidence. Ng fled to Canada but was eventually extradited to the US. He was sentenced to death for his crimes, though his sentence was later commuted to life imprisonment, ending one of California's most terrifying criminal sagas. These were 10 partnerships that turned darkness into a shared obsession. Which story shocked you the most? Comment below and subscribe for more no-fluff deep dives every week. This list is nothing compared to this case, the shocked detectives.